Welcome to Unconventional, where women play by their own rules. I'm your host, Desiree Wadaker, Muay Thai champ, entrepreneur, mom, and your daughter's favorite fighter. And today, we are going to talk about what it takes to be a true warrior. I have with me Miss Tia Minzoni. She is the definition of a warrior, you guys. She is the owner of a company called, very popular jet company called Stella Jets, Stella Experiences. She is a cancer survivor, and all of these things that we are going to talk about today of what it takes to be a true warrior. Tia, thank you so much for joining the show. I'm so happy that you're here. I literally have one question though to start the show. And my question to you is, do you fucking sleep, girl?
You know, my team might say no. Sometimes they wake up to a bunch of emails from like 4 o'clock in the morning. But I try and get some sleep, and I am definitely working. Even when I'm sleeping, I feel like my brain is still working.
Yeah, I mean, if I could have I'm a professional athlete. I'm running businesses. I got a kid, and I when I did like my background on you, I always look at my guests and like what they got going. I'm like, dude, she is literally everywhere. I mean, it's got to help that you have a jet company, so you can be in two places in one day, three places in one day. But I'm like, man, you have an energy of like a 20-year-old, and I'm like, where did she get this? Where does she get it?
Oh, thank
You
you.
know?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love what I'm doing. I love what you're doing. I love anything that's, empowering and encouraging women, especially, but just people in general. So I love your show and what you're doing. But yeah, having a private jet company, most of the people that fly with us, that's why they fly with us, because if they can go to 3 different cities and 3 meetings in one day versus spreading them out over an entire week, not only do they get more work done, but they get to go home and be with their kids and coach the baseball team and all that good stuff. So a lot of people think, oh, flying private, it's luxury and flash. Really, it's just about necessity and being efficient and getting more things done with the time you have.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point that you make, because as we become busier, as we kind of climb up the ladder of success, we start to realize that time is currency, right?
Mhm.
Even like just even talking about moving farther away. In California, we can go 30, 45 minutes, but you're sitting in traffic for 2 hours, but the properties are cheaper, right?
Mhm.
But then that takes away from time with your kids, time with your family, your spouse, business things that you could be doing, on your spare time. And just time is you can't take back time. And that's such a valuable thing to have.
Yeah, I think time is your most valuable currency. For me and for a lot of people, it took a while for me to realize that I was giving time way less value than I was giving money. And you can
Yeah.
always make more money, but you cannot make more time.
No,
So that's
ma'am.
kind of, I think when people realize that lesson and they start spending their time and budgeting their time more wisely than they would a dollar, then that's when they really start to quantum leap into a life that, they thought they could never have because they weren't spending their time right.
Yeah. And it's also an investment, right? I mean, if you have to like, for example, I went down Operation Black Site. We both participate in that event in Temecula. And so I had to like be in Temecula for Operation Black Site. And then we had a seminar for Muay Thai the next day. And then we had to be somewhere to be on a podcast in San Diego the day after. I mean, yeah, literally the day after. And it was like driving there, taking the Turo, doing this. And I'm like, God, I wish I could just hop on a jet. And even though it may be like a 30-minute, not even 30, 40-minute, I don't know, how far is it from Temecula to San Diego? Driving, it's like an hour and a half, right? But
Yeah.
LA,
Yeah. 20-30 minute
L,
flight. When we were down at Operation Black Site, I had an event the very next day in LA, and we took a small plane, not a jet. It was a turboprop, so the ones where you can actually see the engine, as Cody said in her video the other day. And we took just a small plane from Temecula up to Van Nuys so that we were just 10 minutes away from the hotel and we were able to rest and relax and be ready for the event the next day.
Mm,
Otherwise, we would have been exhausted, during the whole drive and being in traffic. It's exhausting sometimes to travel, especially for athletes like you. If you have to perform, the last thing you want to be is exhausted from a long drive. So
yeah.
sometimes you can get, even if you're like, okay, a private jet might not be the right budget, we have smaller planes that can get you on these short hops and save you not only time,
Oh,
but that stress on your brain
yeah.
and, you know?
That weekend actually was so stressful. I mean, we ended up driving down with three of our dogs. Okay, thank God we have a Tesla, so we could do dog mode. But
Right.
we drove down there, and then the last time it was stressful too. Like my boyfriend and I had to change our flights like three, four, five times. I'm telling you, and then we ended up missing our flight home. It was a shit show. But boiling it down is our family. We have family members that are very ill, and so we had to make last minute changes. But then still get where we needed to get, and that can be extremely stressful. But I think for women too, we're juggling so many things, like whether you're a mom, whether you're an entrepreneur, you have to be back in the office on a corporate executive level. Like, yeah, this stuff can be really draining, but it's hard to like say, hey, I can't make it because logistically I can't get there,
Right. Right.
which really
Which a lot
sucks.
of
And
times is the only choice. A lot of times you don't realize that there are other options, or a lot of people, of course, can't afford other options. But it's great when you can figure out how to manage time better,
yeah.
being able to get from A to B instead of having to choose A or B.
Right, right. Oh, I love that. That's some boss babe shit right there. That's some boss babe shit, Tia. I love your story. So I want to take it back because I know on most of the podcasts that you do, like you definitely are talking about your company. You're definitely very business, right? And on unconventional, I love to learn about women's stories because I feel like it could help another woman out there that is going through transition or looking to change her life, and understanding like what are some steps that I can take. When I met you, and we don't really know each other that well, just so my audience knows, but Tia, you have such a good energy and you have this bubble of Ray around you that is very welcoming. Like when I first met you, I was like, oh, she don't fuck around. Like that's the vibe I got. But I was like, oh, she's also very kind and nice and sweet. And maybe because I was teaching Muay Thai, like it was,
Yeah.
it's like I was teaching you how to like elbow people in the face. It was a different dynamic. But you have such a warm and welcoming presence to you. So if you don't know that or someone hasn't told you, I'm going to tell you today. But I do want to know kind of like how you got to where Stella Jets is now, because when I spoke to you, you told me I didn't even know I was going to get into private airlines and jets and this crazy lifestyle that you live now. So where in that moment, like where was the transition period that led you to the path that you're at now?
I think there's a long staircase behind me, and every single step you take leads you to where you end up. When you look back and you're like, oh, okay, now it all makes sense. Now that I'm looking down the staircase, every single step led me to where I'm at. So I think there's a long, long story, but we don't have a long, long time. So I'll try and condense it. For me, I had said, one day I have dogs too. And one of our very first dog, my daughter was 16. She was the youngest of five. I was a single mom, so I wouldn't let my kids have animals because I didn't need something else to take care of. But
Girl, yes.
yeah, she was the last one at home, and she's like, "Okay, I think now's the time." And she sold me on that we should get a dog. She had been researching dogs and all this stuff. She skipped out on a few things like this dog drools, but I forgive her. But by the time we were traveling a lot, she was doing online high school. She was interning with me. I could pick any city that I wanted to go to, and that's where we would work. We're flying commercial. And when this dog got 3 months old, it was already 50 pounds. And they were like, your dog has to go in cargo. It can't go in the cabin. I was like, my dog is not cargo. I'm not into the plane. And so I was like, one day I'm going to buy a private jet and I'm going to start a company so everybody can fly with their dogs. It was kind of just one of those things that I put out into the universe without really thinking about it. And
Wow.
fast forward a few years, and I was diagnosed with stage 3 kidney cancer. And I kind of laid there with like, okay, I don't have regrets of any of the choices I made. Mind you, I probably should, but I had already looked down the staircase and knew how I got to where I was. But I had so many regrets of all the things I hadn't done yet. And so I just kind of started looking at that and said, okay, if I survive this, I'm going to figure out a way to accomplish everything I ever said I was going to do so that when it is my time, and again, none of us know when it's our time, we don't know how much time we have,
Right.
can't get it back. I'm just going to make sure every single day counts and live it intentionally and break down what's holding me back from reaching all these goals that I said I was going to do. And that's how I started moving forward.
Wow, that's crazy. I read a quote the other day on Instagram, and it was something along the lines of "It's better to look ahead than to look back in regret." And I think that's so huge, and that's such a deep message that I spew out, I feel like, every day on my Instagram and my socials, because it's so hard to it's scary to think about the unknown and going
Mhm.
into the future, but I feel the fear is worse with regret. Looking back, being like, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have just said what I needed to say, or taken that next step, or started that business that I had that dream about, because it's in your head for a reason, right? I mean, for
Right.
you, you said you're like laying there, overcoming cancer, thinking about your entire life, and you have time, right? And that's the crazy thing about cancer, is like you think that the time is going to end, and you're like, fuck, well, maybe scrambling of like, what haven't I done in my life? Some people don't get, that's almost a blessing, don't you think, Tia? Like, even though it's so hard, it's almost a blessing.
I think you can turn just about anything into a blessing if you have the right mindset. When I look back, I don't think there's any problem with looking back. If you're looking back with the intent to learn, I think the only time it's not good is if you're looking back with the intent to regret, because regret doesn't move you forward. And so, I was a teen mom. I had a very rough, younger life. And there's a lot of things that I did wrong. But when I look back, I don't look back to pity myself or to feel guilty. I look back to say, okay, what's the lesson in that? What happened then, and how did it take me to the next step and the next step? And before you know it, instead of regret, you're seeing all the blessings that, gave you the lessons to move forward. So I think
Yeah.
looking back, when you're looking back for lessons, instead of looking back for a reason to regret or feel guilty or be upset with yourself or other people, I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, 100%. You got to have a savage mindset too, like, of just resiliency and everything. Like, fuck that, I'm here. Like, what does that mean? I'm not fucking leaving. I'm not fucking leaving.
Right.
The Wolf on Wall Street, which I love that. And I've been in wealth. So T, I've been in wealth management for 13 years. Okay, I spent a long time at Wells Fargo. I was at doing practice acquisitions at Ameriprise, and then recently left Morgan Stanley last year to start my own independent practice and do something more creative with my life and something that's more fulfilling. And here we are today. And I'm so glad that I met you down at Operation Blacksite, and we're sitting here having this conversation, and I'm just so happy about it. I do want to know, like, you don't find many women in the jet space, okay, the airspace, jet space. And maybe I'm not using the right terminology, but it's got to be really hard to break through as a woman in this space. Maybe I'm wrong, but what kind of savage business moves have you had to make as a female breaking into what seems like a mostly male-dominated industry?
Yeah, and it is. In private aviation, or actually aviation as a total, less than 6% of executives are women, as far as like president, CEO, vice president. So it's very much a male dominated space. I've not run into, there's men out there trying to hold women back. Like, I haven't run into that. It's just basically a subconscious bias, I think, where they feel like maybe you're not quite as credible, maybe you're not quite as
Mm,
capable, which I think women run into everywhere. One thing when when I'm mentoring young ladies, I always tell them you need to dress one step above the men in the room. Because if all the men are wearing polos, you should be wearing a suit. Because
yeah.
instantly being a woman subconsciously, I think just from our society and the way it's been, we are looked at as, weaker, not as smart, not as capable. So we always have to walk in a room and be, one level above everyone else in the room, all the men in the room, which sucks, but it's the way it is. But I don't think that there's men out there that are intentionally keeping women out of the industry for the most part. What I have run into is wives of these men who don't want their husbands to work with women who can sometimes block deals from happening. So it's been
Oh,
it's a little interesting that that happens from time to time, but mostly the men have been welcoming. They've been open arms. They're always happy to teach you something, even when you already know it. So what do they call that? Mansplaining. Um,
yeah.
yeah, no, but
Oh, we
really,
love a good mansplaining. Actually, I heard from a friend that one of the biggest successful tips of marriage is even if you know something, shut the fuck up and let your husband explain it to you. I'm not
right,
married, by the way,
right,
but she was like, yeah, you got to let your husband teach you stuff, and even if you know it, just shut the fuck up and let him teach you. And I
right.
was like, really? Is it that
Yeah.
easy?
Yeah. Okay. I guess. Okay. Yeah. So really, I can't really say anything bad. I've been in a lot of male dominated industries. I really think what's holding back these industries from having more women in power is just women knowing they can be in these industries and they can hold a powerful role.
Yeah.
So when I wear, I don't have it on now, but I wear a necklace and it has a little gold airplane on it, and I every single day I get comments, and most of the time from women. You know how we're always, complimenting your jewelry or your hair or whatever.
Yep.
And they'll say, "Oh, are you a flight attendant? Oh, are you a flight attendant? Oh, are you a flight attendant?" And I'm like, "No, I own a private jet company." And they're like, "Wait, what?"
You're like, no, bitch, I own a jet,
Yeah.
multiple jets. Do you want to go somewhere?
Yeah. So I really think what's holding back aviation as well as a lot of other male dominated industries is just more women saying, "I can and I will."
Yeah, yeah. That's really good. And also women need to change their perspective too about, oh, not making assumptions because we've been so conditioned to be, like you said, oh, are you a flight attendant? And it's like, no, I own a whole jet. And yeah, I was on a call the other day with a guy and he kept calling me an influencer. And I was like really offended by that, Tia. I was really offended. I was like, I own two businesses. I could probably manage your entire wealth over here, and I can kick your ass.
Right.
And I'm not just an influencer. Like, don't label me as an influencer in a way like in that space. So I was kind of offended by that language. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be an offended person and look at that way because I am doing content for paid
Yeah.
for an exchange of payment kind of thing. But it was just like, don't put me in this lane. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
like that. Maybe it's a Sagittarius me, don't put me in a fucking lane. But like I think yeah, we need to dig deeper with that and not make assumptions because there's some really powerful women out there and we're like you, like so kind, so sweet. You wouldn't know you're running this huge multi-million-dollar operation here, right? So I think that's awesome. I want to know, okay, what's your biggest professional risk? Like, what's the biggest risk that you took for your business that scared the shit out of you, but it's paid off today?
Oh gosh. I mean, literally, if you watch Cody Sanchez's video, I bought Stella Jets on a bidding site. I had no experience in aviation, but I had a lot of experience scaling businesses across multiple industries.
Right.
Um, so that was definitely, that risk of going into something brand new. Um, was a big one, even though I had done a lot of research before. But I would say probably, I mean, the most risk I take is just around money. Like it's an expensive business. So we have to spend money before we make money. And that's always feels like a huge risk. But it's just the way of the business. You can't put somebody on a private jet that you haven't purchased yet. So probably that's the biggest risk is doing that. And I had
Yeah.
a family office guy who had said he was going to put in 10 million, and based on that, we had taken some risks that we wouldn't have taken if we didn't have that in the background. And
Commitment.
then it
Yeah.
turned out that they weren't really the right fit for us. And I turned like I stopped dealing with them. I didn't take the investment. So that was probably the hardest thing to do, is turn down $10 million that can really help scale your business, but doing
Yeah,
it for the reasons that you don't want your whole team to be miserable, where you want your company to go. Making
right.
those big decisions like that are, I don't know if I would call it risky, but those are some of the hardest ones, because you really have to put your value over the value of a dollar. And that can be really, really hard.
Yeah, 100%. Like ladies, sometimes the juice is not worth the squeeze. Like I'm telling you, some of the wealthiest clients that I've worked with, I've turned down clients too that had 5, 10 million, this and that, because you know what? They were a pain in the you know what.
Yeah.
And when you build relationships, like in your business, yes, you own a jet company, but it is all, I believe, the most successful people have cultivated relationships. They're experts in relationship building, and those aren't a short term thing. The relationship goes on. Like for you, you want a client that is going to continuously fly with you time and time again. The experience is seamless. They have a great interaction with all of your staff members. Everything. It's relationships. And yeah, sometimes when you just have that pain in the neck client, you're like, I don't even want your money. Like it doesn't fit into the mold. And I agree completely with you. So ladies out there, don't be the sparkle sometimes ain't always what it is. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's
Yeah.
just not. It's just a world of headache and not even just that, but liability, you
Right.
know.
And not everyone
Um,
can see your vision. Not everyone, no one else was given your vision, only you are. And it's not, if they can't see it, it's not always up to you to shove it down their throat, right? You want to get in relationships with people in business who can understand and see and have passion for the vision alongside you. That, and I always want anybody who works for me to love coming to work.
yeah.
We're a team that wins together. We help each other out. Nobody comes in and just hates coming to work, and that's really important too. So I'm careful who we partner with for that reason.
Yeah, and I love that you said team because shout out to Cody Sanchez because I just listened to one of her things that says team and not family,
Right.
and I love that you just use that, and I'm going to use that in my business as well. Okay, so we don't have so much time. One of the big things is I always ask people because I'm a fighter, and I always push this out: fight like a girl, right? Be a
Mhm.
strong girl. My coach told me one time he was like, Des, I need you to be a strong girl, and now like I tell other women, I'm like, hey, I need you to be a strong girl. Like, where in your world do you feel like you fight like a girl every single day to make things move, make the wheels turn? Like, what is that for you?
Every single breath. Like every
You're
breath
like,
is fighting.
I'm fighting.
Everything is having to be strong and having to overcome and having to see solutions that are outside the box. Anyone who works for me can tell you, I tell them, do not bring me a problem, bring me two options for a solution, and we'll figure it out
Love that.
together. Because problems are endless and there's not a lot we can do if you just keep throwing problems at a wall. You're just going to get dents in the wall. And so I think
Ooh.
every day is constant battles and brain power and thinking out of the box and coming up with solutions to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Oh shit. That's freaking that is fire, Tia. Because problem solving. Okay. I hate when people come to me, like you just said, with this is a problem that we have, or this is an emergency that we have, and literally cannot figure out how to solve the problem. Like problem solving is such a huge characteristic that people need to develop. I feel like sales and solving problems.
Exactly. Yeah. And not
That's
everybody's
huge.
going to have the right solution to a problem, and they may need the expertise of somebody else on the team. But if you at least think about a couple of solutions and a path you can take, then when you come to talk to someone else about it, you're 3 steps ahead and not wasting either one of your time.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's like some research and digging that you have to go on and look through. Like if you're not the one who has seen the problem or has like met the problem and recognizes there's a problem, and someone just comes to you with the problem, then you got to be like, okay, well, what happened here? What happened here? And you kind of have to backtrack. Whereas if someone's like, hey, we have this problem and these are the ways that we can solve it, like that is instrumental.
Yeah.
Assistants, people that are out there that are working, if you just come to your boss with a problem, they're probably going to be annoyed by you. They're probably going to be annoyed by you and you might get fired.
Yeah. And, just a good way to hire is to hire problem solvers, because that saves, at the top, you're doing so many things that, you can't spend your entire day solving problems on every single level. So the more problem solvers that you hire, the faster your company can grow because it's not always being pushed uphill to you.
Yeah, she's a professional fucking problem solver, guys. Okay, so we don't have that much time. So I want to. I always like to ask women, especially strong women. I'm like, well, thugs need love too. Like I believe that thugs need love too, and like you're absolutely a thug. So what does Tia like? What is the soft side? Tell me, like, is it your daughter, right?
Uh-huh.
You have a daughter? You have
Yes,
one child?
I have 5 children.
Oh, you have 5 children. What the fuck? Tia, I swear, you blow my mind, girl. You blow my mind. I swear, I didn't even catch that. I didn't even catch that on my research. You have 5 kids.
Yeah, I have 5 kids. My oldest is 34 and my youngest is 26. One boy, oldest is a boy, all girls, and I have 7 grandchildren.
Oh my God. Okay, we can't even get into that. But you're absolutely a thug, girl. Oh my, I looked up to you even more now. Okay. So what do you do? Like what do you do? Is your family like your soft spot? Like is that how you regenerate and like carry on throughout the rest of your days?
My grandchildren are like I'm wrapped around their fingers, for sure, especially the youngest grandchild who has got blonde curly hair and these big green eyes, and he calls me his bestie, and so we're
Oh.
definitely BFFs and spend as much time as we can together. But some of my grandkids are teenagers, and we just have so much fun together. And part of what keeps me going, one of my granddaughters, we were at Home Goods, which is like that's probably the my therapy place,
Yeah.
and she saw this little plaque that goes on your desk, and it said everything's figure outable. And she pointed it out and she goes, "Oh my gosh, Mimi, you need that. That sounds just like you." And I was
Oh.
just like, I almost cried. Like, and I bought it and it's on my desk, but it reminds me of who's watching. It reminds me
Yeah.
of that I am, even if I don't hear it all the time, even if I don't get confirmation all the time, that there are young people and young girls, even outside of my grandchildren, that are watching and looking for that inspiration and leadership. And
Mhm.
so that really keeps me going.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching you. I mean, I'm inspired by you. I literally was like, wow, she's so great. I should have her on the podcast. And then my team was like, yeah, do it. And then I like kind of dug a little deeper because I'm just a curious human. And I'm like, wow, she's a fucking rock star. Like, you really are. Like, so you know, like I know you've done a ton of podcasts on other people's stuff. I've seen, a couple things that you've done on your own platform too. And yeah, it's inspiring. And now that I know you have 5 freaking kids, oh my God. It just like takes it to the next level. So I talk about mentorship all the time because in the past I feel like it was really hard to get mentorship, and now it's a lot easier just with social media, with everything. You can reach out to people, but you are the epitome of that, of like someone that has endured struggle and hardship and all of these things. And just, I mean, raising 5 kids alone, I have one 13-year-old and I'm out pulling my hair out, like having a breakdown last week, like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
I feel like I've done all this, but yeah, like it's inspiring. So, I definitely think that your story will impact others. So I just appreciate you for putting that out there and being on platforms and coming on the show. We have a segment where I ask guests or questions from my audience to they have burning questions that they want to ask. I posted a story, so I do have one question that I love. So I'm just going to give you one just for the sake of time. But it's, how do you, as a powerful woman, deal with adversity from the opposite sex? And so I'm going to kind of twist that because you already answered that earlier. But what about men that come and use your services? Like, do you ever feel like someone's like, can I get a deal? Can I get a break? And all of this, like, what is that you experience?
All the time, definitely not just men. If I had, $1 for every time somebody said, "Can I just come take pictures on your plane?" I'd be a little bit more wealthy. But yeah, all the time. There's always people who are trying to work a deal, get a free flight, all of that kind of stuff. And hey, no hard feelings. Like, it doesn't bother me one bit. I don't say yes because if it doesn't fit with, our business, because I am a businesswoman. but no
Right.
hard feelings whatsoever. Like everybody's doing what they can to get on the hustle. But I have started a program, which is a membership program. It's called Stella Share, and
Okay.
it's like a members club. It's a social club, and with that social club our members get access to book an individual seat on a flight where they can, get from A to B for a less expensive price because they're only booking a seat, not the entire jet. Network with other ultra high net worth people, other influencer athletes, celebrities are part of this club. And then we also have private lounges, private bar, and we have a podcast stream that we're building out that looks like the inside of a private jet. And we're doing that to accommodate a lot of these people who are really trying to just, and I believe in seeing yourself. I don't remember who it was. It may have been Ed Milet, but they're like, once you fly first class, like you're not going back in the back. Like you're never doing that again, but you have to be able to see yourself in the seat and feel it to be inspired to work harder for it. So we
Yeah.
have done this ultra high net worth members club. You do have to be approved, but it can be a stair step for those people that are looking at getting into flying private without having, without being ready to charter an entire aircraft by themselves. It also, for our celebrities and athlete and business clients, it makes it more friendly to the planet. So you're not taking a huge plane across the country for one or two people. It's
Right.
great networking, but also, it gives them the opportunity to not spend as much and still have that privacy, a level of that privacy that they would have if they were flying completely private. So I'm super excited about Stella Share. Just like, when you and I met, I love networking. I love meeting all the people that I get to meet, for being in this business and opening up new opportunities for people to fly private on any level. So
Yeah.
hopefully Stella Share will do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm gonna fly Stella Share at one point. It's going to happen because I just realized like my solution was you like for the last 2 months. So I just realized that when, as you started talking, I was like, fuck, if I would have just been with Stella Jets, I would have been everywhere where I needed to be and not dealing with Southwest Airlines like the whole time.
Right.
Uh, I could just be like, Stella, hey, we got to make some shifts here. We got to pivot quick, girl. And this is what we got to do. And then you'd be like, done, easy.
Yeah.
I wish that could have happened. Well, I think this has been amazing. I'm not going to take any more of your time, but I think there's been a lot of lessons here. And I always like to tie what my guests are doing with fighting, and this is just kind of the epitome of it is like, hey, there's like people that go through losses and losses and losses. And some people take them really well, but you need to be able to like pivot and readjust so that the next fight is, you're better, you're stronger. And you definitely display many attributes that are very similar to like an actual fighter in a ring, just being able to pivot quickly, make decisions quickly, solve a problem head on when it comes at you. And that's super admirable. So I want to also let my guests know where to find you. So your socials, you have a couple different socials, but last question I have, where did Stella Jets come from?
So we bought the company and it had the name Stella Jets, and my daughter and I kind
Okay.
of went over like, should we change it? Should we not? It wasn't super branded. But Stella derives from the word stellar, and we definitely, want to always put out a stellar experience, but it also means star. And we knew that we were going into Stella experiences, which are like meet and greet with celebrities and stars on a private
Yeah.
aircraft. So it just fits. So we kept it. But I do want to say something about, you and fighting and all that. I think I love that you're using fighting to teach people life lessons, because some people go through life like it's a bar fight instead of like they're in the ring with a strategy and training. So it's not about not fighting or fighting. It's about how you fight. And I love that you are putting that into life lessons for people.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, that is definitely the goal. There are so many synchronicities between fighting and real life. And so that's exactly what we're talking about here. And some people, they don't know that they have the fight in them, but they do. Everybody has it. It's just the way, like you said, how you do it. And you have to have a team around you, and you have to have people around you that support you and want to see you thrive and be successful and give you good guidance, right? Because I believe, anything that you do, you can achieve. I'm a testimony to that. You are a testimony to that. And so a little bit of encouragement here or there from the right people in the right places, and like it's limitless, you know. Like we can go for the Stella Jets to the stars, you know. So yeah, so thank you for being here. Yes, your socials, please let us know where we can find you.
Yes, we are most active on Instagram. We have Stella Jets for private jet charter, Stella Share for the new members club, and Stella Experience if you're looking for masterminds in the sky or celebrity meet and greet VIP events.
Love it. Love it. Yes. Your Stella Experiences, the new program that you guys just launched, seems really fun, exciting. I mean, even if you were like do a weekend away and do a Stella Experiences, that is like, sounds like some fun shit. You know, everybody's looking to do something different. We're not trying to like just go to the movies on the weekend or do this. Like we want an experience, and like that would be something so cool to incorporate in that. So I love what you guys are doing. I also want to plug you guys in for next guests. If you guys want to ask questions or have a suggestion for guests, please let me know. You know, I've got a huge network of really cool women, and I love to share all of these things with you. So make sure you like and subscribe. And Tia, thank you so much for being on here. Until next time, you guys, and remember, we play by our own rules every single day.